tutorial, we're going to be looking at how to open files in Photoshop, how to use the help menu, how to navigate around Photoshop, how to use the history tool, how to use the magic wand tool, and lastly, how to use the layers panel. So it's quite a bit, but we'll get through that quite quickly. So the first thing is we need to actually open files. So just like all programs, we just need to go to File, Open, and then open the file, or select the file which we'd like to open. And the native extension for Photoshop is PSD, but it could still open natively pretty well any type of photo, such as PNG or GIF or JPEG, etc. So now that we've selected the file which we'd like to open, just click on Open. And now that the file's open, we'll be able to make any changes that we like. Now, before I continue, we need to know how to look at help alternatively. So at the very end, the last menu item in Photoshop, there's help. So we could go to Photoshop help, and they'll bring up the website for Photoshop for its help tools. Then if we go to Photoshop, we click on help again, and there's Photoshop tutorials, and these will provide outright tutorials on any specific part of Photoshop. So if you want to read further about working with layers, you can read about it there. Now moving on to navigation, you of course need to be able to zoom in and out of photos. So how we do that is we go to View, we press Zoom in, to zoom out, we go to View, and zoom out, zoom out. If we want to set the vertical height to 100% for the photo, just go to View, Fit on Screen. If you want to set it to 100%, View 100%. I prefer that the vertical height be set to 100% for that specific photo. So I go to View, Fit on Screen. There are also shortcut keys associated with each one of these tools. So if we go to Zoom in, there's a Command plus, Zoom out is Command negative, Fit on Screen is 0. So again, Command plus goes in, so plus for going in, Command negative, so going out is negative, so plus for going in, negative for out, and Command 0 resets it so the photo occupies 100% at the vertical height. So that's quite simple to navigate up and down. So vertically on the file, we could either use our mouse or we could use the scroll bar that is on the right of the photo. So you see we'll be able to move it up and down, to vertically scroll, to scroll horizontally is at the bottom of the photo. We can scroll this way or use our mouse, depending upon what our mouse can do. And likewise, there's a zoom tool here, which we could select. It just allows us to click around and zoom on any specific area. If we press Alt while clicking on it, it will zoom us out. Let go of the Alt, zoom back in, and Command 0, and we'll reset to 0. If we want to manually set to a certain percentage, as you can see on the bottom left-hand corner in Photoshop, there's a percentage value set there that's equal to the percentage of zoom that's currently set. So if we set this to 25, it would set it to 25% of the full size of the photo. So if I go to Command 0 now, it'll set it to 100% of the vertical size or height of the screen, which I have set to 1/3 of my normal size right now for the demo. Now the next thing is we'll look at the history tool. Now I have the history tool here set up, or the panel, so I'm going to remove it. Now to restore it, you go to Window, History, and this will restore it here within the panel, but most of the time it starts off just floating like this. to put it within one of the main panels, just hold it and drop it somewhere within one of the panels where you like. And it goes blue, let go of it, and it'll set itself up there. You could resize it like this just by selecting the area between and resize other ones until you're happy with the height that it occupies. Now, how the history tool works is that it allows you to go back and forth on different states of editing. So if I select the rectangle here tool, which allows us to select areas of the photo, and then I cut out areas as such, and I could see what it is that I did. So cut pixels, cut pixels, cut pixels, and I could go back to any state just by clicking on it. And I can restore it to the beginning. Where this is most useful is when making changes that I want to see befores and afters. So I'm not going to go through this fully, but I'm going to fix the color on this girl's face, for example, and she's very red, very overexposed. So I'm going to select her. And this is not meant to be perfect, it's just a demo. So if you look at her, you go to the image menu, adjustments, and then go to hue saturation, and see she's oversaturated. So I'm going to put her saturation down until it's around, say, 36 seems good, maybe a little less. That seems good. So 32. And then you look at auto color, so image auto color. Yeah, and so she seems to be better now. But to confirm that, as you can see, we're on the fourth line here, fourth row of history. Then let's click at the state which we open the file. So there's before, there's after. So the difference is quite drastic. So before and after. So I definitely prefer the after. Now the next thing is that we could set snapshots. So exact points in time in the history where we like to preserve things as they are. So to do so, as you see, I'm happy with that girl's just changes to her color. So I'm going to right click that state. I'm going to set new snapshot, and I'm going to put girl 4 fixed. So at any point in time, I could click on new girl 4 fixed and it will bring me back to that state. Now, say if I want to fix this girl's coloring too, I'll select her. And now I'll do again. I'll set the saturation, say, to -10. I go to image, to auto color. I don't really like the auto color here as much. So I'm going to go to image, adjustments, brightness, contrast. Change that a bit, go to image, adjustments, color balance. She seems a bit red. A bit yellow. There. So I'm happy with her color now. Now don't forget, while doing this, make sure you have the preview checked off, because if you don't, then you won't be able to see what you're doing as you change it. So press OK. And now let's look at the before and the after. That's quite extreme. So now we're happy with this. We'll set a new snapshot. So girl 5 fixed. So now what we have now is we have 2 states that we would like to save. So girl 4 fixed, so this is original at the end. Original at the end, girl 4 fixed, that. So these are certain points at which we want to save things. So if we changed the background, we made it a bright white, we would set that as a snapshot. Then when we made changes to specific parts of the photo, we would save those as snapshots, because it'd be very hard to read if we had 1,000 different things under the history to know where it is that we finished fixing the girl or finished doing this. We'd be just clicking back and forth here. Oh, what was the point? But if we just set it like that, girl 5 fixed, then we'll be able to get back to the point that we want to be at. So that's how we use this tool. That's a history tool. There's a lot more to it, but those are the very basics. Next thing, we're going to look at the magic wand tool. What the magic wand tool is, it allows you to select an area that matches roughly the color that you selected. So it selects everything in the area that you want that matches that color with the tolerance which you set. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at that in the next video, and then we're going to look at layers, and then in the video after that we'll look at, after we've mastered those two things, we're going to look at changing the background to a pristine white for this specific photo.